What I'm doing is I'm activating chains of musculature that work together to perform one function, okay?
This mobility exercise, as shown by Bill Maeda, is for both legs and both hips, but created by the controlled movement of the upper body. Initially, we can see that Bill has set himself up with two support points, one on the ground with the right leg, and the other with the inside of the leg up on the mat-covered table. This creates 2 points to stabilize the upper body from, as the upper body goes from an upright position to being dropped downward and rotated to the right. The right leg is supporting the body above throughout the entire movement. Whether up or down, the line of weight bearing is directly over the right hip, and so it is being continuously pressurized throughout the movement. As the upper body moves, it pulls on the pelvis through the spine, spinal muscles, and abdominal muscles, taking the pelvis through a tipping motion left and right, which is technically hip adduction and abduction, just with the moving components reversed, and rotating inward and outward, ultimately creating the hip joint motion that we call internal, then external rotation. Because the leg is so stationary and pressurized throughout the movement, we can be quite certain that this has a meaningful stretching effect on the hip joint with its deeper muscles, ligaments, and hip capsule. On the left leg, we can clearly see we have an abducted position of the hip. As the body moves the pelvis, we are still going through the same hip movements, just in the reverse order of the right hip. Though as the left hip is being pulled more than pushed on by the body weight, it doesn't have the same depth of stretch to the deeper tissues. What's more interesting about this side is that the adductor muscles are adding some support in a unique way. Because the leg is high and on a fixed structure, the adductors are pre-stretched. This means they are in a prime position to contract and already have some increased tension. The pelvis must be a moving but strong base of support to hold up the upper body. Essentially, the majority of the back and abdominal muscles are being contracted to varying degrees throughout the movement. Based on the end range of motion, the muscles most lengthened, and therefore the muscles that must contract the most to pull the body back up, are the left side flank area, mainly the obliques, as well as the spinal muscles on the left side. And it is all the way up the left side, as it will be the spine that supports the ribs, arms, and head. As the upper body is lifted by those muscles, the left leg adductors are contracted more, feeling as if it were pressing into the table to better stabilize the pelvis as it rolls through its motion, which better stabilizes the upper body as it bends and twists, which was initiating this whole process in the first place. Exercises like these can seem overly complex, but often they're exaggerations for training the small parts of bigger, more integrated movements. Movements like this, where the upper body is brought downward and rotated. Through the spine and shifting weight of the body, the pelvis tilts and ends up with an externally rotated leg, pulling up on the opposite leg through the spine and abdominals, taking the striking leg with it for a high kick, making for great form, and a nice rotation on the follow-up elbow too.